Assalamu alaikum. I'm Rataba Fatma from 4th year morning, and my case study is on hypomagnesemia. Okay, so the case study that was given to me was about a patient, a 61-year-old man, who was admitted to the hospital because of trauma to his forehead after falling at home. He has a long history of conditions related to his alcohol abuse, liver disease, ascites, seizures, pancreatitis, malabsorption. He complained of abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea for the past several days. At time of admission, he was confused, apprehensive, combative, and he had marked tremors. He also had delirium as evidenced by hallucinations, screaming, and delusions, and he was having multiple tonic-clonic seizures. The medical record revealed that RJ had been taking furosemide, that is a loop diuretic, for his ascites for the last 2 months. And there were some laboratory test results that were obtained at the time of admission, which we will discuss about later. And phenytoin was administered for his seizure control, and RJ was placed on nasogastric suction. Fluid restriction was instituted, and furosemide therapy was continued to control his ascites. What are the circumstances that have contributed to RJ's hypomagnesemia? Okay, so regarding the admission protocols, we should keep in mind that why was our patient admitted, what observations were made during his admissions, and what tests were run at the time of admission. First of all, the reason behind admission of patient was that he was rushed to the hospital because he had terrible trauma to his forehead, because he fell at home. Also complains of abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea for the past several days. So there were some observations made during admission that he was confused, apprehensive, marked tremors. He had marked tremors. He showed delirium, hallucinations, and we observed that he had hallucinations, and he showed aggressive behavior and had multiple tonic-clonic seizures. Also, there were some tests that were run at the time of admission, like serum creatinine test, serum magnesium test, and potassium blood test. Okay, so after some time, we noticed that there were some test reports that were observed, that were obtained after few hours. First of all, if we look closely, there is serum creatinine level which is 0.8, completely low normal because it is between the reference range 0.7 to 1.4. So there is no problem here. However, if we look closely at the potassium blood level, the problem is here that it is below the reference range, that is 2.5. So there is hypokalemia. Also, if we look closely, I have zoomed this magnesium report, serum magnesium report here, and the results are 0.8. However, it should be between 1.6 to 2.8, so it is also on the low side. So here is also a problem of hypomagnesemia, which will be my focus because my case study is based on that particularly. Okay, so I have prepared some soap notes regarding my case study. First of all, there is subjective. The chief complaint, I already told you that he had trauma to his forehead, he had abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, tremors, delirium, hallucinations, screaming, delusions, multiple tonic-clonic seizures. Also, there is history of alcohol abuse, liver disease, ascites, seizures, pancreatitis, and malabsorption. Currently, he is on furosemide for his ascites for the past 2 months, and he was administered phenytoin at the time of admission to control his seizures. So next is objective, which I have already told you about the laboratory diagnosis, that the patient has hypophosphatemia as well as hypomagnesemia. However, the creatinine level is completely normal. Okay. So this, the assessment. By the help of our subjective and objective, we have assessed some points regarding our case study, that the patient, because he was having nausea and vomiting, it could be due to hypomagnesemia and malnutrition. Also, the seizures that were observed at the time of admission could be due to hypomagnesemia as well. Also, the patient had been on furosemide for his ascites, so it could also be the cause of hypomagnesemia. Also, he has history of alcohol abuse, he has liver disease, he has malnutrition issues, he has malabsorption issues. So they could also be the main reason for magnesium depletion. Also, interestingly, The interesting fact is that I already told you that nausea and vomiting could be due to hypomagnesemia, but when a patient is nauseous and when patient is having diarrhea or when the patient is have vomiting, so it could also increase further hypomagnesemia. It could also further lead to hypomagnesemia. Why? Because the absorption by the GI is reduced of magnesium and could lead to hypomagnesemia. Also, there is always hypokalemia accompanied with hypomagnesemia. So also, when we gave him, due to the phenytoin that we gave him at the time of admission, it could also be the factor for his hypomagnesemia. Okay. So the treatment protocol, what was followed, because the patient was alcoholic, so we gave him magnesium sulfate 10% solution, 1 milli equivalent per kilogram, that is IV in the first 24 hours, which means 0.5, half of this amount, which is 0.5, was given in the first 3 hours, and the rest 0.5 was given over for the rest of the day. This dose is repeated to keep the serum magnesium concentration above 1.0 milligram per day. Also, the patient was showing seizures, so we also gave him IV infusion that was given from 2 to 4 gram over 5 to 10 minutes. But if seizures persist, the dose is repeated up to a total of 10 gram over the next 6 hours. But if seizures stop, 10 gram and 1 liter of 5% dextrose in water is infused over for 24 hours, followed by up to 2.5 gram every 12 hours. Okay, so after administrating, we should keep close, we should carefully monitor our patient for marked suppression of deep tendon reflexes. What happens when we administer the magnesium sulfate IV or IM, whatever, so the patient may respond to it differently. The patient may show high serum magnesium levels, and it could cause problems in his ECG, BP, and respiration. So we should always monitor his ECG, BP, and respiration changes, and we should also get him retested for his serum magnesium levels. Also, there could be facial flushing, a sensation of warmth and sweatness that is resulted from vasodilation, which is secondary, which occurs when there is rapid magnesium infusion. So to conclude this, I want to tell you what is actually hypomagnesemia. It is the low serum concentration. If the serum concentration is below 1.6 milli equivalent per liter, then there is problem, then there is hypomagnesemia. The causes could be due to inadequate magnesium intake and absorption, or increased excretion due to hypercalcemia. And drugs like furosemide cause hypomagnesemia. Also, metabolic disorders like diabetes, bad habits like alcoholism, and also there are some clinical features that hypokalemia and hypocalcemia is usually observed when there is hypomagnesemia. And also there are some symptoms or clinical features that are observed when a patient has hypomagnesemia. He shows lethargy, tremors, tetany, seizures, and arrhythmias. Okay. So treatment, I have already told you about treatment, but if a person is stable, RJ unfortunately was not stable. He had seizures, he had nausea, he had vomiting, he was showing psychotic behavior. So obviously we could not administer him orally. So we administered him IV. We could also give him IM, but since IV has better bioavailability and we needed immediate response and immediate effect, so we administered him IV. However, a 50% solution, 1 gram and 2 ml, is also available for IM use. It could also be the option, but we prefer IV over IM if we want immediate response. Also, if our patient is stable, then we can go for oral magnesium salt. We can give the patient orally. So this is also an option here. Okay, so always keep in mind that there's always concurrent hypokalemia and hypocalcemia. So they should also be addressed. They cannot be neglected, because if these electrolyte disturbances are not corrected, then there is issue. So we cannot neglect, and we cannot neglect hypomagnesemia as well. For example, if we are treating hypokalemia and hypocalcemia, but we are neglecting hypomagnesemia, so what happens that the electrolyte disturbances of calcium and potassium is also not restored. Why? Because uh, we are not treating hypomagnesemia. So these electrolyte disturbances are difficult to correct until magnesium has been depleted. So there is a balance, and we should manage them all together. And also it is seen that if we give solo therapy of magnesium, uh, solo treatment of magnesium for hypomagnesemia, the intravenous magnesium sulfate that is given, the sulfates of magnesium sulfate bind to the ionized calcium and decrease their absorption, which leads to further hypocalcemia, and we can say it worsens the hypocalcemia. So we should always consider all these electrolyte disorders that are reoccurring, that are concurrent together, yeah, that are always seen together. So we have to manage them all together. So thank you so much for listening to me, and this is it.